Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our Vistatec Life Sciences in Focus webinar. I'm María Mateos. I'll be your host today. And we have a terrific group of guests, a dream team, as I like to call these guys. They are amazing. They will introduce themselves in a moment, but first let me start with a couple of housekeeping items so everyone who is joining today knows how to participate in this webinar. So there's a Q&A tab. Please use it to enter your questions for the panelists. They will reply after they finish their presentations. We'll have time to address those, possibly in the last quarter of the hour. There's also a live panel. Feel free to connect with other attendees. Tell us where you are from. So that should be great participation. For those of you with accessibility needs, you can turn on Zoom's automatic caption feature. That should help. And if you want to connect with any other of the speakers, please send me a message by LinkedIn or email afterwards, and I'll facilitate that very happily. We are recording today's session, so you'll receive a replay email in a few days. And as usual, we are going to start with a short presentation to frame the topic and then move on to the discussion. So let's dive in. I'm sure you know some of our attendees, but I'll let them introduce yourselves. Guys, Amanda, ladies first.
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Maria, and to the Vistatec Life Sciences team for organizing this webinar. It's really exciting to be a part of it. So thank you for the invitation. My name is Amanda Weber. I am the Associate Director of Partnership Management at Merit. I've been with the company for almost 4 years now. That's hard to believe. The time has flown by. When I came on board to Merit, I did have 15 years of experience in sales, business development, marketing across a variety of industries. So I guess I'm getting closer to that 20-year mark now. But at Merit, I do serve as a primary point of contact for many of our valuable CRO partnerships. I'm involved with any and all activities in terms of the pre-award process, and I do get the honor to oversee a lot of Merit's initial outreach efforts in order to cultivate and nurture, establish new business relationship opportunities in both ophthalmology and respiratory. So very honored to be a part of the discussion today. I must say, alongside 3 of my industry favorites. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you are one of my favorites too. Actually, this group, oh my God. Adam, would you like to go next?
Of course. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on where you are. I wanted to first thank the Vistatec team for hosting this webinar. I'm super excited to be a part of it and talk about a topic that I think is very near and dear to my heart and my mission at 2020 Onsite. My name is Adam Merola. I'm the Senior Director of Life Sciences here at 2020. I've been with the company for just over 6 years. And come from a background deeply ingrained in operations. And so really excited to spend time with this group discussing this interesting topic today. And I'll kick it back over to you.
Thank you, Adam. And now, Eric.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon. Thanks, Vistatec, again. You know, it was funny as Amanda was talking about her past experience. One thing that I was thinking of was mine is a little bit of a mixed bag. Actually, I'm the VP of Business Development for Block Clinical. I've been with Block Clinical from its very inception, but my background, I have a culinary degree. I always open with that when I go to conferences if I have to speak, because it always gets a chuckle out of everybody in the room. But as you'll see as I kind of go through our presentation, how that is relevant. I think the overall idea is bringing hospitality to patients in clinical trials to improve their clinical trial experience. That was the original concept. And so we've obviously built on that over the years. But I started with Block Clinical at its inception. We were with another company. So we've been doing patient support for quite some time. prior to Block Clinical. And we're coming up on 8 years at Block. It seems like we just started it yesterday, but we are really making strides and continue to grow and expand within the industry. So happy to be here, and thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, sometimes we mention how many years we've been in the industry, and I'm say I feel old. It's great, we have all the experience, but sometimes I'd rather avoid it. So Eric, you are starting with a presentation today, so please go ahead and start sharing your screen. To our audience, we have a little different format than usual. This amazing trio will be presenting together, so go for it. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Okay. Hopefully I'm sharing the correct screen, unlike the last time I did this at our practice run.
You did.
We can see your screen.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so I guess you're wondering why, the relevance of Block Clinical when we're talking about technology and we're talking about patients and data quality in clinical trials, specifically around ophthalmology. When we started in the very beginning, we wanted to make sure three things, or many things were brought to the table in the arena of taking care of patients. In the very beginning, that's what we really started off with, was the focus on the patient experience, and that was automation, connectivity, transparency, and data integrity. So we created a software platform in the very beginning, very much like, I guess a good analogy would be the Expedia of clinical trials. And the way we do that and the way Block Clinical sits and operates in the industry is that we are directly integrated with global suppliers now. So when you're looking at logistics, having direct integrations with ground transportation companies, hotel booking engines, airlines, all of that. So when I click a button, prepay, and book a ride for a patient in London, we capture that transaction in real time, and we can report on it in real time. So that was really the big part of the transparency piece that we really held near and dear as we were building everything out. And so that gives us up to the minute and down to the penny reporting. And that's expanded. There's a lot of different integrations that we do. Obviously, when it comes to payments, integrations with the EDC system, CTMS, or any other place that we can pick up a data trigger in order to auto remit payment to a patient or to a site, that's done via the integrations. And so when you're looking at the middle of this slide, the budgeting and analytics, the more that we've got incorporated into our system, the more we can really forecast and predict what's going to be happening from a financial perspective. I'll give you an example of one where one of our clients came to us and we paid everybody in the study. So we had multiple data triggers that were set up, whether that was the imaging companies, whether that was the lab supply, patient payments, site payments, even integrating with a patient app. So when the patient went in and filled out a survey and clicked submit, we were in the background auto remitting payment to that patient for that activity based on that data trigger. So with all of these people incorporated, it gave us a much stronger line of sight to what the financials were going to be. It gave us the ability to reforecast with each new SIB and each new patient enrollment. And so this was the original back of the napkin idea, like quite literally Zach and I sitting in a bar deciding that we were going to move forward and do this Block Clinical idea. With technology in the center, you can see where all of the different things can be brought together for patient and site support. And it goes beyond just, building that experience for the patient. When you look at all of the things incorporated in this, how it can all pull together from financials as well as automation. That's one of the things that we really wanted to bring to the table, was that automation. So really alleviating some of the pressures off of the study management teams. For an example, when a patient gets enrolled, our system gets notified that that patient's been enrolled. Then we can trigger other systems to drop ship any wearable devices to that patient, pay that company for shipping it in real time, reporting on it at the end of the month. So no one has to do anything, but that item was shipped, that patient received it, confirmation was done, showed up on a report, and that was all paid for. So when we tie everything together, what we really wanted to do was build efficiency, streamline processes, streamline not only the burden on the sites and the amount of work that the sites have to do. In a lot of studies, sites are the ones that are trying to do all the work for the patients. And so we really saw a way from, financial management, logistics, care coordination, all of the different things to streamline as much as possible. So when you look at the needs of patients that are here, let me jump ahead a slide. I'm going to go back to that one. When you look at the needs of patients in a study that are ophthalmology patients, ultimately they've got a special set of needs. So it's being able to cherry pick all of the different logistics suppliers that are best suited for those particular patients' needs. And having those coordinators reach out to those patients in order to really make their experience customized for what their needs are. So, for example, with ophthalmology patients, we oftentimes really want to make sure that they are traveling during the daytime because daylight hours, it just works better for them. Not having layovers because them navigating their way through an airport, if they're visually impaired, can be very difficult. If they are having layovers and do have to navigate through the airport, having the golf cart get them from one gate to another. So there's a lot of nuances that go into that. And the way we accomplish that is having a constant upgrade of suppliers that are integrated within our system. And so whether that's a specialized ground transportation globally, one example of an integration in this space was we integrated with GroundSpan. They're integrated with 5,000 ground transportation companies globally. So through that one integration, we now have access to all of their outlets. So that can be a mom and pop ground transportation supplier in Ireland and rural Ireland, and getting that patient to the site where they need to be in a manner which is comfortable for that particular patient. So every study, whether it's ophthalmology, oncology, whatever it may be, that patient population and their caregivers have a very specific set of needs. And so we've got the infrastructure built out in order to accommodate that. Now, jumping back to the slide of centralized payments, what we really want to do in this scenario is with any kind of data trigger that we get, being able to auto remit payments. So for patients, if that is when their visit is complete, auto remitting stipend payments out to that patient so they get paid in a very timely manner, is giving patients the opportunity to select how they get paid. So whether that's Venmo, PayPal, Revolut in Europe, I would say that 90% of our patients opt in for, if greater than 90%, opt in for the ACH bank transfer into their own accounts. I always say, why give them another debit card when they can just use their own? So we try to make it as easy as possible for them. Also for the sites, unfortunately, a lot of sites still want paper checks. We're still working with them on that. But anyway, the idea is to automate as much as we possibly can. And it's not just, again, reiterating myself here a little bit, it's not just for the research sites, but it's also all of the vendors and suppliers. So the more people that we can pipe through our system, the more line of sight you've got to transparency for every penny being spent in the clinical trial as it's being spent. So jumping back to this particular slide, I think a very good segue is to give an example of when we worked with 2020 Onsite to get patients to their van or one of their locations where they had pulled their mobile units up to. And so rather than our client opening up a site or sites in Canada, we flew all the Canadian sites to Niagara, had them at one hotel. They pulled their mobile unit up and we knocked out a bunch of screening visits all within the matter of a day or two. And we continue to do that in conjunction with them. So whether it's a regional location where their van or their, I keep saying vans, sorry, Adam, their mobile units are, we can get the patients to that location, which really streamlines the experience for not only the patient, but it streamlines expenses for the clinical trial sponsors and the CROs that we work with. So that's basically my portion in a nutshell. So I will exit out of this presentation. Happy to answer any questions as they arise, but the flow of all of this really is about, that patient support, getting the patients to the sites on time, patient retention, having the patients there so that sites get the data in on time and in a quality manner. So thank you very much for listening and giving me the opportunity to speak.
Excellent. Well, good morning again, everybody. Thank you, Eric, for that excellent segue. So my name is Adam Merola. I'm the Senior Director of Life Sciences here at 2020 Onsite. And as I had mentioned earlier, I'm excited to talk about this particular topic today because it's something that I live and breathe every day. And it's a really interesting and exciting opportunity. So jumping right in to the topic here. Streamlining ophthalmic trials. So why does it matter? Well, I have 3 key takeaways of why it matters. So accelerating enrollment and patient throughput through really a streamlined patient experience. A patient-centric approach by bringing our mobile clinics directly to the point of need, but also ensuring consistent image quality and data integrity. Centralized imaging standards and trained mobile technicians minimize intersite variability, which can be a major risk to ophthalmic trials. Using smarter imaging strategies, working directly with patient travel, such as block clinical, as well as centralized oversight from companies like Merit, is what really ensures success in streamlining processes for ophthalmic trials and trials that have ophthalmic endpoints. And then, third for me from a key takeaway is reducing cost and operational complexity. Bringing the clinic directly to the point of need can also accelerate timelines, which is really important. Time is money, essentially, in clinical trials. And the way that we can accelerate those timelines is by working with the sites to streamline those processes and really have a centralized solution across the study, which provides, operational efficiencies throughout. So what drives data quality in ophthalmic imaging? Well, ultimately, data quality in ophthalmic imaging, I consider to be the foundation of reliable trial outcomes. It starts with standardization, ensuring every technician, every device, and every mobile clinic follows the same imaging protocols and calibration procedures. This consistency minimizes variability between visits and sites. And then next is training and certifications. Highly trained ophthalmic technicians ensure that images meet sponsor and reading center criteria from the first capture, reducing reimaging rates and protecting data integrity. 40% of trials require protocol amendments, delaying start by an average of 4 months. So as I mentioned earlier, time is money. So the ability to accelerate those timelines, but also back that up with consistency in the data is an extremely important key piece in standardizing and ensuring that the reliable trial outcomes remain across the board. In addition to that, technology and automation also play a major role in essentially trial outcomes and early detection of errors, secure traceable data flow. When all these elements come together, we generate image data that's not only high quality, but also reproducible, regulatory grade, and a trusted endpoint. So robust QC processes and patient approvals. So a robust quality control process is more than a checkpoint. It's a safeguard for data integrity, patient safety, and then ultimately trial success. First, it protects endpoints by ensuring every image captured meets protocol and reading center standards. That means consistency across all the sites and all the visits, reducing, data queries that could compromise endpoint credibility. Second, it protects patients. The QC process confirms imaging accuracy and adherence to proper testing techniques, preventing misdiagnosis, unnecessary repeat procedures, and exposure to redundant clinic visits. Third, it protects approvals. Regulatory and sponsors rely on data that is traceable, validated, and a strong QC framework from calibration logs to documented review trails demonstrates control over every variable in image acquisition and handling. In short, robust QC process in ophthalmic imaging from a potential risk factor into a verified stream. Central oversight and local empowerment. I think, we have some essential partners here on the call that help with these things, but central oversight via a reading center, with image acquisition standards really helps ensure data quality across the board. And then local empowerment via our certified staff at the point of need with calibrated devices and a controlled environment on board one of our mobile clinics is really how we ensure success across the board in clinical trials. It's built for decentralization, bringing the assessments, like I had mentioned earlier, directly to the point of need. Every mobile clinic that 2020 employs operates standardized imaging protocols and calibration procedures, ensuring consistency across all modalities. So there are some ways that 2020 Onsite ensures imaging quality, and I had mentioned most of them earlier, but unique delivery methods such as our mobile clinics, our mobile vision pods, and mobile clinic suites that can be deployed to locations all throughout the United States, and uniform sponsor-approved ophthalmic devices that are calibrated, combined with our certified staff, audit-ready documentation, rapid deployment, really are able to cut down on timelines. And ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, essential partners such as Merit in the reading center space, Vistatec with our translation integrity, Block Clinical, ensuring that our patients can get to where they need when they need to be there, and are rested and ready for their assessments are some ways that we bring all of these things together to ensure proven outcomes. From 2020 Onsite, we have a 98% data submission accuracy rate. We have been able to decrease, by 70% patient dropout rates and meet 100% screening timelines. So that concludes my presentation today. I'm looking forward to the Q&A that will follow. But for now, I will send it back to Maria.
Thank you, Adam. And yeah, those numbers are very impressive. Amanda.
So yes, great content. Save the best for last, though. No, I'm just kidding. So kudos to my co-panelists, Eric and Adam. That was very informative information, hard acts to follow. So I have the pleasure of speaking more to what happens with the data once it's been, accurately and consistently collected. So for our listeners, I did want to say, for those of you that have been at the site sponsor or CRO level in the field of ophthalmology, it is likely that you've heard of Merit, or maybe even more likely our proprietary software platform, Excelsior. And why I have confidence, or that I'm comfortable in making that assumption, is that Merit has been providing specialized central imaging services for ophthalmic clinical trials since the inception of the company in 2012. I believe currently Merit does support the imaging requirements of upwards of 50% or more of the ongoing ophthalmology studies. So we really take great pride in the strong foundation and reputation that we built in this particular therapeutic area, and just the experience and expertise that we've gained over these last 13 years. It's actually where we got our start while we operated as iCor Inc., exclusively focused in ophthalmology. But you're not here for a history lesson on Merit, so I'll move on in terms of today's main topic of discussion, and that's how Merit's imaging strategies can contribute to those streamline ophthalmic trials and that high quality of data. So with that, Excelsior is a really great place to start. It is our backbone of Merit's imaging standardization and analysis capabilities. It is a cloud-based system. It's customizable, so it will ensure alignment with the protocol requirements. And then it's offering global access for all study stakeholders. So imaging tasks can be performed from globally dispersed locations for sponsor representatives, CRAs, site personnel, reading center staff. And then I always like to emphasize too that unlike other systems in the market where maybe it's pieced together or it's more of a suite of solutions that are required to speak to one another, Excelsior is end-to-end integration within a singular system. So it was designed to manage the entirety of the image assessment workflow process. In a secure system, the images remain securely within the platform until the data is exported and returned to the sponsor. And then, of course, the platform is fully compliant with HIPAA, GDPR, HGRAC, and 21 CFR Part 11 regulations, making sure that we have that data security and privacy in place. And then, while our technology certainly sets the stage for this topic, it's really the combination of Merit's innovative platform alongside our robust reading center expertise that truly drives the improved accuracy, speed, the oversight needed to keep trials moving forward smoothly. And then, prefacing this content, I would say working with a private independent reading center, it's ensuring standardized processes across sites, that quality control, and then unbiased image evaluation. And this is reducing variability in how images are interpreted. It's improving consistency, and it can, as Adam mentioned, accelerate timelines. So Merit's Reading Center, it's currently staffed with nearly 40 experienced graders. They're strategically based in the US, Latin America, Europe, and Asia, primarily in China. We have 2 office locations there. And then the team is overseen by Merit's Chief Scientific Officer and co-founder, Dr. Ron Danis. He is a board-certified retina specialist with over 20 years of reading center leadership experience. And then Dr. Joe, who serves as Merit's VP of Medical and Scientific Affairs. I'll say too that many of our experienced evaluators, they possess clinical or academic photography backgrounds. So really across a range of expertise and education, what's important to point out here is that all are trained under the same SOPs, very rigorous onboarding, comprehension checks like quizzes, for example, very little room for errors. So the result is a very experienced and well-trained team of imaging specialists who are collecting and grading images consistently and accurately. And then within Excelsior, once those images are uploaded from the clinical sites or from partners like 2020 Onsite, those images undergo a very rigorous QC check-in and analysis process. And this reading team, they conduct longitudinal reviews of that data. So across visits and time points, we want to confirm that it's the correct subject assignment, that the timing, the visit timing makes sense for the protocol, adherence to the protocol. We want to make sure that images are of high quality, that there's no PHI, and then an independent masked image reads and adjudication, that is minimizing bias in endpoint assessment. So delivering sponsors and regulators a greater confidence in study outcomes. And then finally, Merit has the internal capacity to collect and grade a vast majority of morphologic and functional data used in ophthalmology device trials, drug and device trials today. So what this does is it creates more of a holistical picture and view of patient outcomes. So for example, Excelsior allows readers the ability to analyze OCTs, fundus photography, visual acuity, contrast sensitivity, all within the same platform. And it's just, super smart and efficient to have that data hosted in the same platform and analyzed by the same vendor, of course, with the medical and the scientific knowledge in order to accurately do so. And then returning to Excelsior, I thought I would share a few screenshots to show what the data would look like within the software platform. I'm sure there's other folks on the call like me rely heavily on visuals. I'm a visual learner. They're engaging. And then I do have to share a really quick fun fact. So this lit lamp photo is of the eye of our very own Anne Golding. She serves as the Director of Ophthalmology Account Management. So Anne is one of Merit's earliest team members. I think she was one of the four or five, I think it was, of the team when we got our start. So she's an imaging technician herself. So giving her a shout out because she does graciously contribute her wealth of knowledge to all client discussions as one of Merit's esteemed and trusted ophthalmic SMEs. So it's always really great to have her knowledge on calls. But I digress. So another thing about this screenshot, I must say, it does come from Merit's interactive demo deck that was launched at ARVO earlier this year. And we will have the same touchscreen demo available at AAO, which is next week. It's coming up fast. So if you'll be in Orlando soon as well, I would encourage you to stop by our booth and take a test drive of our software. Our awesome marketing team created kind of a fun race car theme for Excelsior social promotion recently. So I just wanted to stay on brand with that call to action. So one of many Excelsior advantages is that it is highly customizable. So the grading form on the left-hand side, it will be configured per the specifications of the study protocol. On the right, the image view, it's also showing the drop-down menu of measurement tools that our trained graders are able to use to conduct their assessments. And then when measurements are being applied to the image, those are auto-populating directly to the corresponding grading form question. So there's no need for manual transcription. This is eliminating human error as a fail-safe for that data accuracy and integrity. And I think this also shows that we have built features and functions of Excelsior in order to support that reader workflow and to streamline those processes. And at the top there, you'll see it's highlighted, pointing out the different types of image views that Excelsior can offer. So Excelsior does include advanced tools such as split screen comparisons across time points as well as modalities. And we refer to the viewing options as the procedure split and the history split. So Merit graders can split the screen between two different images for different procedures, or what's highlighted here for the same imaging type, in this case, an SDOCT at different time points, screening and visit 1. So this is more of a historical comparison for an individual subject and their progression using one specific procedure. So these comparison views, they eliminate the need to toggle between images or separate screens. It improves accuracy by allowing graders to directly compare changes in the same subject, whether it be across time points or between imaging modalities, all of which can speed up evaluations while maintaining that data integrity. And then transparency also plays a key role in streamlining ophthalmic clinical trials. Happens to be another Excelsior feature, certainly worth mentioning. So with role-based access and integrated query messaging system, 24/7 availability, all study stakeholders, from sites to readers to sponsors, they can securely and appropriately view the data in real time. So this is keeping communication throughout the duration of the study very streamlined. It's reducing challenges, with a lot of those back and forth type of delays. Very early on in my career, I was able to quickly grasp the value of transparency when it comes to imaging. And, as a member of partnership management here at Merit, kind of being at the front line, so to speak, of facilitating a lot of those introductory type conversations with potential clients, feedback we hear quite often is that it's unknown what's going on with the data. It's a black hole from the time it's uploaded until it's exported and returned. So with Excelsior, what's neat is sponsors, they're able to log in at any time. They can see the status of their images, where they're at in that overall reader workflow process from acquisition through grading all the way to completion. So these two final screenshots, I just wanted to highlight that extra layer of visibility and transparency for users of Excelsior. Features like visit by visit status views, you could call it. It's the larger image in the back. It's showing how individual subjects can be viewed with their visits listed at the top. Of course, that's based on the study schedule of events. And then also visible are the expected procedures for each associated visit. Also to support streamlined processes with upload. And then the smaller image up front there, it's what we refer to as our visit matrix. I think this is a really good reference layout for sponsors and CROs. It's more of a table, big picture format, showing visit status at a glance, you could say. And then we have icons denoting not done, no data, in progress. You see the green font, that is specifying the stage. So is it in check-in, upload, grade, verify, completed? Again, full visibility into where the images are at in the overall workflow process. And then lastly, I'll call attention to the red bubbles next to the message icons. These are queries associated with the corresponding imaging series. So sponsors will have access to all of the queries. They can be found and resolved in multiple places within the software. This is providing sponsors and CROs just, a deeper understanding of what's going on, what needs to be done so that we can keep things moving along appropriately. Our study team too can identify trends, maybe the need for retraining. We've identified a site that has continual issues with image quality. And then that integrated query messaging system, it does offer real-time alerts and notifications. So we want to ensure that issued queries are noticed, they're addressed and resolved promptly. And with that, we're minimizing delays and moving studies forward with a greater level of clarity and efficiency. And then in closing my content, I wanted to touch on operational excellence. I think that streamlined processes and data integrity, it really wouldn't be possible without the muscle behind Merit's technology and our imaging services. And that's our amazing operational support staff and their critical contributions to successfully supported studies. And I think that that starts with documentation. So clear study imaging procedures, site imaging manuals, grading charters, data transfer agreements, all the specifications tailored for each protocol. And what this does is it creates that solid roadmap for workflows, grading criteria, turnaround time, setting up all of those expectations. And all of this is accessible within Excelsior. There's a documents tab, so that's a nice feature as well. Site training and certification. We are almost obsessive about this component at Merit. I mean, really, truly, many leaders in the company, their careers began at the site level. So they have a very deep understanding of how critical it is to receive that reliable and very attentive site training and support. As a part of this, we deliver very detailed manuals, both remote and on-site training. We want to ensure that image acquisition quality is consistent across all of the sites. All site technicians are required to receive a proficiency certificate before they are permitted to submit study-related data. And we can certainly provide retraining as needed. That can be deployed in a variety of ways. We can do one-on-one or group sessions online, again, in person if needed. And then, of course, we'll keep study teams privy to any potential delays or concerns. Which is a good segue into our operational support. It's truly hands-on, it's proactive. We offer performance reporting, a very responsive help desk with under 24-hour turnaround on responses. We have regular sponsor and site communications. That's really important. And then really the overall goal here, it's to make everything as easy and smooth for the sites as it can possibly be. And then ultimately the patients, everything that we do is about the patients ultimately. And then finally, the ability to support ophthalmic trials on a global scale. So this is another way central imaging streamlines projects when that standardized, independent, central data review becomes really critical to image evaluations. We've supported nearly 4,200 sites across 63 countries. So in order to efficiently deploy training efforts globally, I know our teams do provide image-heavy manuals, so there's that increase in visual comprehension. And then while we do not have direct interactions with patients, we can certainly collaborate with a trusted translations partner, such as our amazing host, Vistatec Life Sciences. in order to facilitate, efficient multi-regional support. So really these 4 elements, in addition to our technology and our reading center services, it's the comprehensive documentation, the standardized certification practices, responsive support, and being able to scale globally. It all lends to a really strong foundation of how Merit streamlines ophthalmic trials and how we can consistently deliver very high quality data. So just that commitment that Merit has to operational excellence, you're reducing variability, you're improving consistency, and you keep things moving forward efficiently, effectively for every trial that we earn the opportunity to support. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen. I'll pass it back to our lovely host, Maria, for some open discussion and QA.
Yeah, thank you guys. This has been amazing. And as I said earlier, this is the first time we do a collaborative presentation, and we are true believers of collaboration. So I hope you all have enjoyed as much as I did. So many insights here, and I have a lot of questions already. But let me kick off this panel discussion. Going back to Eric. Eric, you are very silent. You've been very silent for a while now. So you mentioned that financial transparency and on-demand funding can improve trial management. So I'm wondering, how do you see these features, specifically reducing financial strain for patients and their caregivers during a trial?
Well, certainly, and I think it goes beyond, the patients and the caregivers as well. I'll expand on that in a second, but, for patients, the financial burden is a big deterrent for patients that are participating in trials. And I'm sure, Merit, I know, and talking with Amanda, it's not just, and talking with Adam as well, ophthalmology goes beyond just visual impairments. There are tests and everything else that tie into oncology and everything else. And so when you look across the board at needs of patients, that financial burden is significant. So if you've got to travel to a site, if you've got to be at a clinic for multiple days, that expense can add up. And the thing about ophthalmology, excuse my language if I miss butchering ophthalmology, but anyway, the typical protocol has more than any other type of clinical trial. I would say ophthalmology trials have the highest number of visits, averages around 20, and goes beyond that. Whereas the majority of the protocols that I see, you've got 10 visits maybe, but you've got 20 to 30 visits in ophthalmology, and that's consistent across the board for the majority of all the protocols. So when you look at trial fatigue and you look at financial fatigue in a trial, like an ophthalmology trial, because of the number of visits and the cadence that they have to do it all the time, if they're having to travel and spend out of pocket, they're not going to show up to all of them. So even if you have a patient that does 10 visits out of 20, you still have to utilize that data, which dilutes the data. So ultimately, keeping patients in the study for all 20 of those visits is going to have a huge return on investment for the sponsor. When you look at sites also, there's multiple sites across the entire study. If they're not getting paid accurately and on time, and they've got a high number of patients that are doing 20 visits, that backlog of payments to those sites can really hinder their performance. And so having happy sites and patients has an immediate return on investment. And that return on investment is impacted greatly by alleviating that financial burden on both.
Thank you, Eric. I have one question for each other of the panelists, and then we have some questions from the audience. Exciting. Adam, you talked about supporting diversity in clinical trials. Everyone who knows me knows that that topic is very close to my heart. So I'm wondering if you can expand on how mobile or point of need ophthalmic, here's me butchering a word, assessment can improve access to unrepresented populations and what considerations are important to this equality?
Absolutely. So, I mean, our mobile clinics can be deployed to any location throughout the United States, essentially extending the reach of clinical trial sites into more rural areas, metro areas, as well as anything in between. When you look at a map of the United States and you start to place pins on the location of ophthalmologists, you'll quickly realize that there are what we call eye care deserts that exist throughout the United States, and I'm sure globally. So by deploying our mobile clinics and other unique modalities, such as our mobile vision pods, which are a semi-permanent structure that can be built in a location, or our Onsite suite of equipment, we really cover all avenues of being able to deliver care and assessments for ophthalmology, specifically the use of our mobile clinics, getting out into the communities and, like I said, extending that reach for either a sponsor, a CRO, or the clinical trial site allows us to get into areas where unrepresented populations exist that wouldn't normally have the ability or be willing to travel long distances to clinical trial sites. We capture this group via multiple different strategies, one of them being community screening events. We're able to provide screenings on a large scale to those populations, as well as bringing screening and any subsequent assessments that need to occur directly to those participants in either their driveway or what could be considered a centralized location. And so really, deploying our clinics into those areas and gaining access to those populations and providing access to the populations that wouldn't otherwise have it because they're in what could be considered an eye care desert or just a desert for healthcare in general is one strategy that we use to help with diversity. When you look at diversity, you have your populations, you also have different economic situations that could potentially prevent participants or patients from traveling to a clinical trial site. And so the ability to bring those assessments, not virtually, but physically, directly to a participant's home address is something that I consider to be really invaluable and something that continues to prove that it has a high level of patient centricity and is able to reduce barriers and burden to care, at least throughout the United States.
Thank you, Adam. And I know you have a beautiful example on the Niagara Falls, if my memory isn't failing me. So to our audience, please reach out to Adam and Eric if you want to learn more about that. And let me go to the other lady in the room, Amanda. Great presentation, amazing data. There's something I'm curious about, very hot topic these days, and that's AI. And I see there's a question from the audience about that. So let me make a mix and match here from the question I had and what you have. So what steps are you taking to incorporate AI to streamline ophthalmic trials? And are you seeing any increase in data security requests from your customers and the people you are talking to these days?
All right. Yes, that's a really great question. One that I think all panelists maybe anticipated when it comes to streamlining trials. It's definitely a buzzword in our industry, and it is certainly on Merit's radar. And I guess I will say that Merit does have an in-house developed software that integrates within Excelsior. It's called Edge Select. I probably should have maybe incorporated a slide on that. But it's a software used to identify and segment multiple retinal surfaces, and it's using a semi-automated algorithm. But very important to mention, it's with human greater oversight. We feel at Merit that will never be replaced. And I know we're somewhat in the infancy stages to I actually just had a meeting with our marketing group, putting together a new landing page that should be live on our website soon. Because for many of Merit's morphologic endpoints, we are using a suite of deep learning algorithms that, again, will always be complemented with human greater oversight. And those AI-powered tools, they're being built by Merit's in-house product development team. So in other words, like study-specific learnings to be carried throughout that drug development process for that same sponsor, and of course, where consent has been given to do so. And then additionally, we do have an R&D team that is led by our medical and scientific experts, and they are continuously building new novel endpoints and just tools to help serve the evolving clinical landscape. So because it's somewhat in the infancy stages, I'm not sure that I can speak super intelligently to that, second part question, but hopefully we'll be starting to see results and the benefits associated with incorporating more AI into the services that we provide.
Thank you, Amanda. Very informative. And we have a question for Adam from the audience that reads, how do you manage the balance between central oversight and local empowerment?
Yeah, of course. So, our central operations team and quality management team set the framework, standardize operating policies, quality controls, training programs, and performance metrics are how we ensure that every clinic maintains consistency and every technician and every study operates under the same high standards. At the same time, we empower our clinical teams on board our mobile clinics to make real-time decisions in the field, adjusting logistics, responding to patient needs, and solving site challenges immediately without compromising protocol. So I would say this balance allows us to stay consistent at scale while remaining nimble at the point of need and at the point of care, driving both data integrity and operational excellence.
And I was muted. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. Actually, thank you very much to the three of you. We have only 5 minutes to go. So I just want to say how amazing collaboration is and how the collaboration between the three of you and Block Clinical, 20/20 Onsite, and Merit Zero make clinical trials more patient-friendly, keeping the patient in the center. That is what we really want here. And as we continue to expand the reach of trials, on our part and what we do here at Vistatec, we believe it's crucial that we communicate in ways patients can truly understand, no matter their background or where they are sitting. So we could talk about this for hours, but we need to come to an end at some point. So in this last 5 minutes, I want to ask the three of you if you have any closing remarks or any final message that you want to give to our audience before we go.
Well, I can jump in with some closing statements. I want to express again how appreciative I am for having the chance to participate in the webinar. This has been really fun alongside my industry favorites. And then I think to your point, Maria, just the deep value vendors can bring to our clients when we are open to strategic collaborations and partnerships. Merit does have a robust, we're calling it a sphere of collaboration. For whatever reason, I always want to do that with my hands when I talk about it, but it's what it is. It's qualified and trusted specialty vendors, 20/20 Onsite being one of them. There's actually a really great info sheet that we put together, our teams. It can be found on Merit's website, I'm sure 20/20's too. And maybe we can even circulate it after the webinar, but it's on how Merit and 20/20 team up to support ophthalmic safety assessments for non-ophthalmology studies. And then, Eric spoke to the great partnership and describe that between 2020 and Block Clinical. So I'm thankful to be working for and representing a company that does embrace collective expertise, you know, ultimately to help bring effective treatments to patients faster. And then just many thanks to our listeners, both live and those that might be checking out the recording. And if we're not already, let's connect on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Eric, any closing remarks?
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, one thing that we could all mention probably are the upcoming year-end conferences that we're going to. I will be at OCT New England next week, and I'm sure Adam and Amanda have some more coming up, but we would love to connect personally with everybody. There was a question in the Q&A box that I think I accidentally deleted, but I went back. I think I opened it and I typed in an answer. So if that person that asked that question would like to reach out to me, I can expand on that. But you know, I think that there's, when you look at collaboration, Amanda, that's a phenomenal point, is that so many times we're firewalled against, you know, people that might want to do an integration, and that kind of touches on the question that was asked. So as we integrate with, you know, EDC, CTMS systems, sometimes there's overlay, but there's typically more to be gained by an integration and a collaboration than there is giving away anything proprietary. So I think as the business opens up to more of a hub and spoke model, we have the opportunity to streamline the services for our patients, which is ultimately why we're all here.
Thank you, Eric. Adam?
Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to reiterate my appreciation for being part of this panel and for Vistatec for hosting the webinar today. At 2020 Onsite, our mission is to make high quality vision care and ophthalmic research more accessible by bringing clinical capabilities directly to the point of need. In ophthalmic trials, this translates to streamlining how imaging and assessments are delivered. Mobilizing certified technicians, standardized equipment, and real-time data connectivity. We remove barriers that slow recruitment, limit diversity, and risk data consistency. So in short, our mission to deliver care anywhere aligns directly with the industry's need to accelerate ophthalmic research through smarter, more efficient, and more equitable trial execution. So those are my closing remarks. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure having you three here today, and thank you for sharing such interesting insights. And also a big thank you to our audience for attending today or for watching this webinar at your own time. We appreciate your input in surveys afterwards, especially on suggestions for future Life Sciences in Focus discussion topics, what's of your interest. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next episode of Life Sciences in Focus. Bye.
Thank you.